Hello and welcome to my channel. Go ahead, hit the like, hit the share. This video, I'm going to talk about Michael Avenatti. According to the New York Post article by Lee Ross, a contributor from Fox News, he says that Michael Avenatti is broke and can't afford legal fees. The California attorney who has represented the discredited lawyer for more than a year claimed. So if this lawyer, Michael Avenatti, is being noted as a discredited lawyer, I hope they pay attention to that little fact when it comes to all this so-called evidence this discredited lawyer allegedly submitted. Anyways, Dean Stewart filed a motion in February court Saturday detailing Avenatti's financial woes and is now asking for taxpayer help to help cover his costs. The bottom line is that Mr. Avenatti has run out of funds and faces a complex trial lasting as long as 6 weeks. Stewart wrote in a filing to the federal judge overseeing one of Avenatti's 3 ongoing criminal cases. This isn't the first time Avenatti has run into legal woes or money issues in the case. For a short period last year, Avenatti was represented by lawyers in the federal public defender's office after his retained counsel departed. It was then that Stewart, whom Avenatti called incredibly well qualified, entered the case. The retainer has long since run out, and defendant does not have funds to pay counsel, Stewart says. He's proposing to stay on as Avenatti's lawyer and get paid under terms of existing rules for indigent clients. Such an arrangement would have considerable taxpayer funds over starting fresh with new counsel. See how they like to play with saving taxpayers some money when it's beneficial to them. But they want to go through this whole case with fraudulent ass victims against R. Kelly, fraudulent attorneys representing them, and a fraudulent prosecutor leading. A detailing of Avenatti's financial straits was also filed with the court, but under seal from the public view and for now from prosecutors as well. It wasn't immediately clear when Judge James Salina in Los Angeles would rule on the matter. Avenatti, like many others imprisoned, was allowed to leave federal custody because of coronavirus concerns. Strange how everybody can get out with their coronavirus concerns except R. Kelly. They say reason for his denial is because he paid off the alleged victim from the first trial. And it's funny to see TMZ posting this little joke stating R. Kelly has tested positive and she wasn't 19. But it's the same source that broke the information Avenatti provided about the payoff was a lie. Same source, TMZ, printed R. Kelly $2 million payoff for 2008 acquittal is bullshit, claims family of alleged victim. Because of these people, yet again, violating this alleged victim's rights and steadily bringing her into this bullshit, she went and got an attorney that came out and said these allegations about this payoff are a lie. So again, it's funny. They let him out, and he was even accused of violating the terms of his release. But anyways, the disgraced lawyer faces 36 counts of fraud, tax evasion, and other alleged crimes. He was convicted in February of trying to extort millions of dollars from Nike and is also accused of bilking money from Stormy Daniels, his most famous client. Unfortunately, she's not the only one of his clients he extorted money from. Avenatti has yet to be sentenced in the Nike case, and is awaiting trial in the other two. So he is yet to be sentenced in the one he's been found guilty with Nike, and still has 2 more cases to fight. And this is the person that the prosecutor let provide her with so much information to form her to bring an indictment against R. Kelly.
We filed a motion asking to preserve all communications with any witness, police, prosecutor, attorneys, and so forth. And then we learned something, that I knew that Michael Avenatti was involved with some of the people in this case, but I think what the state said is he represents witnesses in each of the cases, which is just crazy to me. No, we didn't say that. No, she said that he represents people in each of the cases. That's what she said. We don't know. We know in 2 of the cases he represents people. We know that he was representing people before the grand jury. We know that he's not a licensed lawyer in Illinois, so that's the unauthorized practice of law. We know what he says about what he does. We know how he operates. And we know that what happened in this case was a result of his pressure and nothing else. Because I've seen the evidence so far. And they just don't do this. They don't bring back cases that were rejected 15 years ago. They don't indict cases without talking to witnesses and doing a thorough investigation. And that's what happened in this case. A rush to judgment, a rush to prosecute because of pressure, all polluted by Michael Avenatti. I said the first night when I was at the police station that this was wrong, that they had rushed to judgment, that they had succumbed to pressure. That's what I said the first night before we'd been to court and we'd seen anything. Then we started to get the evidence. We got a little bit of the evidence, and we can see that there's all sorts of problems. We didn't wait. We didn't rush. Maybe if he didn't have these problems right away, we would have waited longer till we had more of the evidence. Maybe not. But we know that he's got these problems. When you get in bed with fleas, this is what happens.
Just like with R. Kelly, a lot of people keep letting things that Steve Greenberg has said fly over their head. See, these statements he just made was from last year, in which he was telling people that according to the evidence he's seen, they don't have sufficient evidence to support their claims against R. Kelly. So when we saw all these people emerging via social media to keep the public going, as grown man said, all they were doing were trying to keep the narrative on their side. Because when the facts and the truth come out, R. Kelly will be vindicated. Period.
What's wrong with this case is that there is no case. There's no new tape. Avenatti's full of it when he said there was a new tape. There are old cases that were rejected, and understand we're limited what we can say about the evidence by our rules here in Illinois, rules that he didn't feel constrained by because he's not a lawyer here in Illinois. But I've never heard of, in 33 years of doing this, I've never seen a case where it's rejected after a full investigation and then 15 plus years later without any reinvestigation, just because the sort of public perception has turned that it's charged. There is a case involving a young lady who wrote a book where she said, I lied to R. Kelly about how old I was. I came to his trial every day. You had to be 18 to get into that trial. She went with her mother. That, if you see somebody with their mother and they're telling you they're 19 years old, mom doesn't say that's wrong. And there's problems with all of the cases.
And speaking of, last time I checked, according to the law, when a business or organization or whatever is enforcing an ID policy, it is their responsibility to validate the authenticity of said ID. Therefore, if you have a person such as Geronda Johnson Pace, who states, I lied about my age, I was 15. However, you attended a trial at a courthouse where they were supposed to be IDing people to ensure they were 18, considering they were showing this alleged child porn. Who's going to take responsibility for that, considering someone either A, let her in without checking her ID, or B, did not verify that it was authentic? What does the law say about this when a person intentionally goes out of their way to stalk an individual and claim they are a minor decades later?
And the problem is there was this call from the prosecutor. People call, let us know what happened. And so far, from what I can tell, the only people who called all of a sudden ended up with Michael Avenatti is their lawyer.
So Steve, are you saying that Michael Avenatti pressured Kim Fox to bring these cases?
Absolutely.
Are you saying that Kim Fox?
Sure, we've already seen that State's Attorney Fox has conversations with people about pending cases, pending investigations. I want to know what conversations she had with Avenatti about this case, about these facts, and what occurred. I think it's totally appropriate.
Fed him clients?
I'm alleging that it looks like she may have, yes. I believe that is the exact same tape, yes. What I know? What I know, look, think of me like a good reporter like you, Megan. I have my sources. You have your sources. I'm basing it on what my sources are telling me.
As Greenberg stated, it should raise some questions when you look at the links between Michael Avenatti and his clients. And it's mighty funny that they try to separate themselves from Michael Avenatti. Maybe because they knew the type of background following this man, which is why they picked him with this whole corrupt plot.
I said, on the 25th, I said, yo, peace, family. I wanted to know if you wanted to share some thoughts on your lawyer being arrested. Are you going to relieve him of his duties? Because you don't want that fucking up your name. It was going on with the R. Kelly case, whatever. He said, hey, King, his situation has nothing to do with Kelly, and this has nothing to do with me because my daughter is not his case. I said, hey, I feel you, King. I just wanted to know how you felt. May I share your response on my platform? Yes. Well, there it is.
And then you had Geronda Pace getting on her platform stating that Michael Avenatti was not representing her. But it should just draw some questions when you see the inconsistencies that have come from Angelo Clary, such as, number one, coming out stating his daughter was a sex slave, and then being caught in this docuseries saying something quite different.
Kelly say this is what he say. It's believable. To say that we wired money, do you know that wires can be tracked down? We open to all our bank accounts. Nothing can prove any wire transfer from R. Kelly.
See, this the thing about Angelo. He get to saying certain things that ain't been said. I don't recall nobody ever saying no money was specifically wired. Why did he specifically say wired? Maybe because if you looked at his background, you would notice all these different companies. And we know how people like to set up these dummy companies and get funds wired to them. So I'm just curious as to if one specific company, specifically Team Truth LLC, got some wire transfers, because apparently they got somebody working from Homeland Security involved with the company. And contrary to some of the other interviews he did, and like he's going to even point out in this interview, he did have contact with his daughter, contrary to the first narrative they were putting out as though they had no contact with her.
And we can go back before she even was with him. I didn't meet him till that day she met him in April. This man is a habituous liar. And to take care.
And I'm going to need for him to learn how to say the words that he's trying to use. Okay?
Kids, and I understand his method of taking kids because they developing. And with a man of power and treat people like trash around them and make them feel like they're queens. And
it's kind of hard to take anything he's saying right now serious, considering, as he just admitted, it was him and his wife that took their daughter to this concert. And I'm going to just leave that right there. They took her. So to then go on this interview and then get to saying it like he's preying on these people, I just don't get it. It don't make no sense to me for people who have gone out their way to get in front of this man want to then flip the narrative like he is the predator.
You know, you roll with me, I got the world under my fingers. That's what he do to children. He talking about kids at 17. So from 17.
And last time I checked, 17 is not a child. They're a teenager, young adult, but not a child. And that is a common thing with these team truthers. They like to keep reverting to that child like, okay, children don't drive, which 17-year-olds are capable of doing. So you're going to put them behind the wheel of automobile, which could end their life and others, but you want to sit here and keep acting like they're a child. No, stop.
18 to 21 now, he had my daughter. So I don't know what type of stuff he probably showed her, whatever lie he told, but maybe he forgot that we had ongoing conversations and text messages that stamped the date. I mean, this has been going on. When we first heard about this nonsense, we addressed Mr.
And we've also heard recordings in which you've said that if you had got that song from R. Kelly, none of this would have gone this far. We have seen text messages between you and Cash. We have seen messages in which Cash has stated that Angelo Clary was willing to back out of all this drama that Tim Savage had stirred up. Yet, once the fire started, certain individuals had no choice but to try to keep the lie going, which is what we have seen.
Blame the parents. It's not about what the world thought it was about. It was about me getting relationships with my daughter.
Don't paint no picture. Like, I have not talked to you guys in over a year because I would call you guys 4 or 5 months at a time. So to believe something like that, so extreme, so bizarre, so outrageous, I just couldn't even fathom my parents believing something as bizarre as that.
At this particular point, what I can't believe is people still trying to say, well, this man deserves whatever he gets, when you clearly see these people are lying. Lying. Every last one of them lying. 1 minute, Azriel is ride or die. The next minute, she flips, showing us the perfect example of what these women do. When they think things are all good, it's not that they're brainwashed. It's not at all. But when things turn bad, that's when you realize the people that are really there for you. And unfortunately, we're all seeing that Azriel could have been more likely involved with this whole setup. At the end of the day, their timeline is sketchy. According to them in their indictment, in September, she was supposed to be at one location. However, she got a speeding ticket in Florida. So I'm confused. And you have the person, Michael Avenatti, submitting all this evidence, such as videos, which can now be manipulated, text messages, which can now be manipulated. There's a whole app in which you could fake a whole message. Matter of fact, you could fake social media messages, in which Cardi B pointed out when someone was pretending that they exchanged messages with Cardi B, and she called them out. They were pretending to be Joycelyn. Remember that? Again, all this stuff had to keep playing out. And what they fail to realize is people like us have been documenting it. So if nothing else, this should be public reference to the average scammer and the levels they are willing to go through to fulfill a scam. They could be attorneys, they could be prosecutors, but at the end of the day, the facts never lie. And as I said from the beginning, it appears from everything that I've uncovered that this man is being set up. And he clearly tells you why many times, just like many other artists. Just like Nick Cannon is experiencing right now. Maybe he thought he was immune to the treatment. Maybe he thought because he's made this company, which happens to be linked back to Sony, so much money. You know, Viacom, CBS is all linked back to Sony. So maybe he thought he was safe in some of his comments that he's made and how he is semi-pro-black, depending on how you want to look at it. But how can you take these people serious when they're willing to do certain things, such as Photoshop images and create these public stunts for their social media accounts for views and clicks? Somebody asked me, how did I know that the photos Azriel has been posting were Photoshop? Well, most of them you could just look at them and tell. Does that look normal to y'all? Like, just be for real. Can a man hold a woman with their side of their stomach like that? Why her hands look like that? I could have drew that better than that. And then you have the message from Dominique verifying that it is photoshopping, just in case you can't see the obvious. So I'm supposed to take serious the extortionist attorney, his stalking ass clients, and this corrupt ass prosecutor. Speaking of, before I close this video, there's a guy by the name of Pat O'Brien who has a petition out, or trying to start a petition, in which he done pulled a Kim Fox on Kim Fox. Apparently, she done ticked off the wrong people. Before this is all political, here go another angle in which they're trying to ensure she doesn't get reelected. Just as she got on her podium and solicited the fake victims, he's now asking the public to submit any misconduct complaints you have against Kim Fox. And you could submit this at www.foxfails.com. That's FOXXFAILS.com. And I'll just read a little bit of this. Cook County State's Attorney candidate Judge Pat O'Brien announced today that his campaign has set up an online hotline for Cook County residents to directly report allegations of misconduct or failure to perform duties by State's Attorney Kim Fox. So, you have to live in Cook County. So all of you in Cook County, here's your opportunity to do something productive today. You can go to foxfails.com and form a complaint about what you have observed this lady has done to violate R. Kelly's rights. Make this very clear, organized, and on subject. No threats, no vile language, no crazy talk, but just express the things that you feel would be labeled as misconduct. The action by O'Brien comes after Fox announced she had created an online complaint process for county residents to report allegations of criminal police misconduct to the Cook County State's Attorney Office, a task already administered by the Chicago Police Department, the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, and also available to citizens through Chicago's 311 non-emergency call. So in short, she came out with some hotline to get residents to form complaints about police officers, and this judge counteracted and stated, well, let's get some reports on all of your misconduct, because if you can do some of the shady things that we have witnessed publicly, who knows what else has been done. Anytime we make contact with anybody regarding this, I would just advise you to be cautious with your language. As we can clearly see, they're trying to keep putting this narrative out there about witness intimidation for a reason. So according to this guy, the feds also say that based on evidence to be presented at trial, Kelly is likely to be perceived by the jurors as capable of inflicting violence. So now R. Kelly is violent. They add that social media posts have sought to intimidate, threaten, and I don't know if that was supposed to be degrade. But anyways, people who appear to be against Kelly. So we see how they always report how certain people will apparently be the voice for everybody supporting R. Kelly. And apparently, if they do things that can be viewed as intimidation, they're going to hold that accountable to R. Kelly. Kind of sort of like we see with this RICO case, in which normally in RICO cases you have a whole list of people because this is supposed to be a criminal organization. However, we see how that's going for R. Kelly. In closing, as I've said from the beginning, we know this is a spiritual war. So people have asked me why I can remain calm in certain situations. Well, that is because I am confident in the fact that, again, all this stuff, all these stunts they're trying to pull, to me, looks like they're digging their holes for themselves. I'm going to look at it as a positive and say that maybe they are being allowed to continue to do the things that they're doing because at this particular point, they can no longer back out of these accusations. So if they're going to proceed with these criminal charges, they're going to have to stand on the things that they originally alleged. And we can continue to document the things that are inconsistent. Because at the end of the day, we all know this whole case is corrupt and R. Kelly will be vindicated. Have a good day. Shout out to everybody supporting the channel. Cash App, primadonnaent. I appreciate everybody. Go check out the website, Primadonna Productions LLC. I will be updating it throughout the day. And pretty much every day I'll be adding content, even to the post that I've already made. I may come across something that will add to the story, so I will put it there. I appreciate everybody who sends in tips, even those that don't want to be announced. And again, I appreciate everybody sharing the content. Have a good day.